Hey everyone, this is CJ Carter with another edition of 4to10-ish, my vlog about all things creative and anything else I want to talk about. A quick mention about me doing this on my phone again. It's really the most convenient way, and I'll likely keep doing the vlogs using my phone. The fewer impediments, like camera and lighting setups, the more likely they are to get done. My apologies for any quality issues like lens distortions and other things that come up. I might also have some awkward cuts because of phone noises, but life is all about compromise after all. Now, with that out of the way, the topic for today is going to be NaNoWriMo, otherwise known as National Novel Writing Month, which takes place throughout November and is well underway. Right about now, after the first wave of people dropped out, it's at about this time that fatigue starts really setting in, and you wonder if you're going to make it to the end of the month, especially with the start of holiday season in just a week or two. So what exactly is NaNoWriMo? It takes place through the month of November and is sort of an incentive for writers to actually sit at the keyboard and get words on the page. The goal is to write at least 50,000 words of your novel, and that's about 1,667 words a day on average, minimum. That could be the entire novel, or it could just be part of it. What portion of the work you write really isn't the point. The point is getting the words onto the page. It's to get you used to the process of long-form writing and or to force you to take the time to get it done. As for me, I participated in the 2012 NaNoWriMo. The end result was this, my novel, Android Me. The funny thing is that I had no intention of participating in NaNoWriMo. I'd already spent a lot of years as a screenwriter, written short stories, and even stuck a foot into the pool of novel writing. I didn't need NaNoWriMo to help me with the process or the discipline or any of that. It just so happened that I was in the process of outlining Android Me. It was about 2/3 to 3/4 finished with that when I got the announcement that NaNoWriMo was going to start in a day or two. I figured, what the heck? I'd outlined enough for 50,000 words-ish, and writing that many in a month was no big deal to me. So I signed up. I got my 50,000th word on November 26th. And for me, that was kind of disappointing, honestly. As I was going through the process, I realized that I wasn't writing to my usual rhythm. I was writing more to the minimums. Consequently, I wrote less than I normally would in the same amount of time, while also feeling a bit more stressed because I actually had this artificial deadline that I don't normally have. So if NaNoWriMo did that to me, I can imagine what sort of effect it might have for a less experienced writer. My number one piece of advice at this stage of the process, if you haven't already quit, is just keep writing. Even if you're far enough behind at this point that you know you'll never make 50,000 words, it doesn't matter. Finish. You won't have anything to edit unless you get it down on the page. That is what a lot of any creative art is. It's getting the first iteration done. Now you have something to work with. You have things to fix. You can see where you need to add something, where you need to remove things, where you need to change how you presented something. As long as it's only in your head, it's only just a theory. Once you have fixed it to a medium, you can play with it. at least play with it in a way that's effective. Okay, so what if you haven't been averaging the almost 1,700 words a day? What if it's been more like, say, 1,200? That means that at the start of the second half of the month, you're around 7,000 words behind the goal. That's still something you can make up. You are going to have to write a little more than 2,100 words a day to do it, which admittedly is more, but it isn't insurmountable and it isn't unsustainable. Now, you have to understand, when I'm writing, I typically write between 3,000 and 5,000 words a day, and I don't really think much about it. Sure, it takes time, but not as much effort as you'd suppose. But I also don't have young kids demanding my attention, or dogs wanting to be taken for a walk, or any of the things that are taking me away from the keyboard. For a lot of you, that situation isn't your reality. Sometimes life gets in the way of the things that we want to do, like writing. I always felt that one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was from my calculus teacher in 12th grade. She said, if you don't learn it for the test, at least learn it. That's what matters most. And that's the thing with this project. Sure, it's great to be able to say, yes, I did finish my NaNoWriMo in whatever year it is. But that isn't the goal. The goal is for you to get used to writing at a reasonably productive speed. But keep in mind that it isn't the only way to go. As you can imagine, I have a lot of writer friends. Some write as few as 250 words a day. I'm on the high side at 5,000-ish, but some write more, but most are somewhere in between. There's no correct way of doing it other than doing it. I do encourage you, if at all possible, to hit the NaNoWriMo goal by the end of the month. If for no other reason, it's a nice stroke for your ego. But that's really all it is. If you didn't hit the goal, keep writing. Keep writing at the same pace. Don't stop until you're done. If you hit your 50,000 words, but you aren't done, keep writing. Don't stop until you're done. So, as for this, I finished writing it around the middle of February 2013. That was for the first draft. I took time off between the end of NaNoWriMo November and sometime in January to deal with the holiday season, so I really didn't write that much during that time other than working on the outline. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I began with an incomplete outline. At the end of NaNoWriMo, I had written through most of what I had already outlined and had gotten to the stage where I wasn't sure how the story was going to finish up. For me, that's unusual. Generally speaking, I don't start putting words onto page until I know how the story ends. And that's something I'll talk about in a future video. I didn't know how the story ended, so I had to work it out. My first draft ended up at about 74,000 words, which is kind of short for me. Over the course of time, I went through 2 more major drafts and probably half a dozen smaller revisions. It was finally published in January 2015. All in all, the whole process for this book from NaNoWriMo till publishing was a little over 2 years. The final word count was around 135,000 words. More important than anything else, though, is that I'm happy with it. So what do I think about NaNoWriMo overall? I think it's pretty useful as a training tool. It gives you a fixed goal so that you have to invest reasonable effort without asking too much of you. For writers that want a bit of a community, it's a great way to get in touch with people participating in the same project for support and sometimes even meet when we aren't socially distancing. But it's not magic. You're the one who has to put in the work, and this lets you know how much work it is and if it's something you really want to do. In that, it does a good job. The thing it doesn't do for you is give you a finished publishable work. You just get a first draft. There's still a whole lot of rewriting and editing to do. If you find a lot of problems, it's probably that the work is not even salvageable. Or it could be that it has the essence of one of the greatest works in human history. Again, that isn't the point. It's about making you a writer, a novel writer. Whether you're good at it or not, well, that's sort of outside the scope of this exercise. So if you're still participating in NaNoWriMo, good on you. I hope you make it to the finish line and that your end product hits it out of the park. If you discover that it wasn't for you, that's fine too. I don't think I'm ever going to do it again, but I'm kind of glad that I did it the one time to see what it was all about. Like so much in our cliche-filled life, you do you. And that's it for this installment. If you're interested in Android Me, it's available on Amazon. Please don't try to pick it up from someplace else on the web. I'd hate for you to catch a virus in the middle of a pandemic. And honestly, you can usually not only get it cheaper via Amazon, but I'll actually see royalties from it. So it's a great way to support me and this channel. And while you're there, you can also pick up a copy of Que Sera Cerise, which is also still available. They make great Christmas gifts, not only for your friends and family who love to read, but also for your friend who has uneven table legs and needs to put something under them. Again, you do you. And I have to say, this was fun. The creative activity I most love talking about is writing, as I've devoted so much of my life to it. Rest assured, this isn't going to be the last video for that medium by me. So until next time, be safe, keep wearing your masks because we're in the middle of a pandemic, be creative, and keep on practicing. See ya.